Hey everybody, today we're going to talk more about GitHub. Now recall that we've already talked about commits, i.e. changes to a repo. That's when you make changes to a repository. Today we're going to talk about a method for organizing individual commits called branches. Called branches. Now, when you think branches, you should think trees. That's the analogy to think of. So for example, let's say you're working on a software product on GitHub and you want to add a new feature. Well, instead of just throwing all these individual commits into the same version of the repo, you can organize them into branches. So let's go over an example right now. Over here is the SCBI Forest Geo GitHub repo of all their data. Now, we're not going to work with this repo because you folks are not collaborators. You folks do not have write access to this repo. Instead, we're going to work with this playground version of this data that I created. This is an exact copy that I manually created of this data, and we're going to play around in here. So the first thing to note is this branch that you see right here is the master branch. That's what you can see right over here. So let's go back to our notes. What do we have? We have the master branch is what you see by default on GitHub. But now, the steps you're going to follow for adding a feature to a repo are as follows. Steps to add a feature to repo. But the important thing to note is a repo to repo for which you are an internal collaborator. I've added you to the repo, the playground repo that I created. The steps are a little bit different if you're not internal, if you're external. But to keep things simple, we're going to talk about the steps you follow when you are a collaborator. So the steps to add a feature, number one, you're going to create a new branch. Number two, you're going to add many commits to new branch. But then the idea is after you've made all these commits and you want to merge that branch into master, you make a pull request. So add many commits to new branch. Last, make a pull request. This is more GitHub lingo. We also call that a PR. So a pull request is as follows. It's a request to pull in, or I should say pull in commits in new branch into master. You might ask yourself, wait, isn't that a push request? No, it's confusing, but it's a request of the sort of person who's in charge of master to pull in these changes into master. So let me demonstrate this process right now on the computer. So sidecar, great. So what I'm going to do right now in R is the following. I'm going to create a new folder called nope. The first step I got to follow is to create a new branch. Sorry. So I'm going to go here and I'll say add 390 folder. Then I'll click create branch, add 390 folder. All right. Then I'm going to go to RStudio and I want this change that I made remotely or on the cloud to be in my local repo. So we'll go over here and I'll now do pull. What happens now is the following. Over here, if you click beneath master, you can now switch to that branch. So those are a couple of steps that I'll add when I get back to the notes is you have to pull in the new branch and then switch to the new branch. Now I'm going to add that new folder. So I'll create a new folder called 390. You're going to do something different. I'll go here and I'll create a new file, call it a text file. I'll save it as readme.md. Okay, and I'll call it work by Albert's 390 students. Save. Now I'm going to commit these changes into that branch. Commit. So I'll say over here, the commit message will be, what was it? Created new 390 folder. Remember, folks, it's always 2 steps to sync your changes online. It's select the file, commit, then push. But remember, we said that a branch is a way to organize many commits. So let's add more instructions here. We'll say for MP2, you'll be completing a race to the first visualization using Forest Geo SCBI data. When I saved it, we have an M because that file is now modified. So I'm going to commit these changes as well. So remember, we add a commit message. So I'll say added instructions, commit, push. Great. Let's now go back to GitHub and we'll refresh my playground version of this repo. The key thing I want you to note here is this branch is 2 commits ahead of master. But now let's visualize this branch. The way you do that is you go to Insights, Network, it always takes a second or two. You see? What's in this branch is 1 commit, 2 commits ahead of what's in master. But now, what do we call it when we want to merge in the changes in this branch into master? We call that a pull request. There's more than one way to do create a pull request. Let's go back to the repo's main page. Whenever you push commits to a new branch, I think for an hour afterwards, you'll have the option of clicking this button that says compare and pull request. So let's now create this pull request. So we can say here, we're going to give it a name. We're going to say added minimum viable product of 390 MP2 instructions. Great. So here's a comment, hello world, all right? But now we're gonna create the pull request. We click on that button and you'll be doing the same as well. All right, what's going on here? We have 4 tabs to look at. Actually, you know what? The first thing we want to look at is over here. Rude Boy Bert wants to merge 2 commits into master from here. We want to take these changes here and merge them into master. Now here is a little sort of conversation dialogue where we can say, hello world, hi. We can have a dialogue with people who want to, who are going to be working with you. We can look at the individual commits. But interestingly over here, we can go to files changed and see, oh, what are the changes? And we can isolate only what's different from add 390 folder to master. Great. Now in my case, this is kind of weird because I'm going to create the pull request and I'm in fact going to merge them. But what you're going to be doing for mini project 2 is you're going to be creating pull requests, but I'm going to look at them and then I'm going to merge them. But for now, I'm going to merge pull request. Confirm merge. You've successfully merged that branch and now we can delete it. Once we've merged a pull request, we can sort of prune off that branch. Now I'm just going to leave it for now, but you can delete it if you feel like you don't need to work on it anymore. Now let's go back to Insights. Insights, Network. Now you see, oh, we've taken these changes here and merged them into master. The pull request was merged. So now if we go back to the repo and look at the master branch, 4 minutes ago, we added the instructions. Let's go back to our notes. So I forgot a step over here. So why don't we renumber the following? We'll call this 3 and we'll call this 4. So number 2, we have to pull locally. All right. We have to make a pull to bring in new branch plus switch to this branch. All right. So again, we have a second step here. You need to pull in the remote new branch and have it shown up locally. And then you need to switch to this new branch. After what we call a code review, meaning we go back and forth and look at your pull request. It might take a few more changes, but after a code review, we then accept pull request and merge new branch into master. So you can see how this is a way to keep individual commits organized. All right, that's all for now, folks. This is what you're going to be doing for mini project 2.